Odell Beckham, and this went down a few days ago, is joining the Baltimore Ravens on a 1-year contract worth up to $18 million, $15 million guaranteed money. I read that there are some void years involved to kind of spread out the hit, but this is big-time money for a Beckham who, Mark, of course, now I believe is entering his age 31 season, and he is also coming off his second reconstructive knee surgery, and yet the Ravens needed a wide receiver, and then there's the Lamar component of this. Your thoughts?
I mean, the money threw me. I don't know, like there were very like minor whispers in terms of interest for Odell Beckham at this stage, and he balked at the idea that he wanted $20 million a year. Well, he could get up to 18, so I think that him saying that was a ridiculous report tells us what was really going on there. He did want this money, and I don't know why the Ravens needed to pay him this, but I do think in general it creates. Ian Rappaport mentioned that there is this sort of feeling that there's a likelihood that Lamar Jackson's going to come back to the Ravens. And I think this is an olive branch of sorts. It's a team that's obviously struggled to draft wide receivers. They've been probably among the worst teams in the league at drafting and grooming wideouts, the opposite of the Pittsburgh Steelers, the rivals. Odell Beckham, which version of him do you get, I guess? That's the question for this kind of money. I mean, his first 62 games in the league, he averaged 93 yards per game. Incredible. In his next 34 games, 47.1. That's an average, below average wideout. So which version of Odell Beckham do we get for this kind of money? And are we certain that Lamar Jackson will essentially be playing quarterback? Well, here's the other thing I think too. Odell Beckham, not a guy that's going to maybe go do every single thing in the offseason, right? He's at that stage in his career.
He's always kind of trained on his own whenever he has that.
Right, which is not totally atypical, but new team. We don't know when Lamar Jackson will be back in the building, even if they do figure it out. And you've got a completely new offensive coordinator. I don't love that unless a lot of this gets solved quickly.
Now, Todd Monken, who is that new offensive coordinator, was the OC in Cleveland when Beckham was there. Obviously, it didn't work out with Beckham, and from what we hear in the reporting, that was less about what the Browns thought of Beckham and more like an impasse between Beckham and then quarterback Baker Mayfield that kind of blew up that relationship. It is a lot of money. I think most people think it's an overpay, but if it helps the Ravens get their house settled and ultimately brings Lamar back, it's worth it. And again, not to go down this road, this rabbit hole, but Lamar doesn't have an agent, and now Odell, who does have an agent, gets this like really big contract for a player coming off an injury who's been out of football for a year and a half. Maybe some of this money, like maybe Lamar could have been getting some of this money. It's almost like OBJ is taking some of his money, but that's okay because Lamar and OBJ are celebrating in Miami, I believe, when the news comes down. Obviously, I don't think Beckham, who is also very much a target of the Jets. In fact, they had a meeting on Monday, and according to Connor Hughes, who covers the Jets and the New York sports scene, Beckham reached out to the Jets after this Ravens offer that night, Sunday night, I believe it was, and said, hey, can you match this? And the Jets said, no, we're not going to match it. So he goes to the Ravens, and now we see if Lamar follows. And I just think, Mark's part of this, like, with the Ravens, and they caught heat for how they've handled the Lamar situation to let it get to this point. But doesn't it start to you get the feeling that this is going to settle in a good place for them? And a team that we were like saying, wow, this organization is so well run for years. I can't believe how they handled this Lamar situation. They're going to probably end up getting him back in the building on this transition, on this franchise tag that's not the exclusive franchise tag, so at a lower number. And now they'll have a marquee wide receiver, at least in name value, and they'll go into the season feeling pretty good about their chances.
Yeah, and it was a winding, almost endless drama that might just have the most predictable result of all. I mean, there's not a lot of interest in Lamar Jackson. We've heard nothing. So it's just a waiting game. I don't know at this point what the difference is in terms of money for a long-term deal between the two. I think Odell, this obviously created a different environment. When you see him communicating with Lamar Jackson, it's like, yeah, I'm with you. I think that we're getting to a point where this is going to heal itself on some level. I don't know what it means beyond this season if he stays on this tag. But the Odell Beckham thing is a one-year deal too, and so I think they're trying to tell him we're going in all in on you. We moved on from Greg Roman, which I think matters to Lamar Jackson too to some degree. So it's like there are these like elements of where you can tell they're trying to work with the quarterback, but just not on the contract. So I think we're just a waiting game to see when he comes back.